I refused to do that, so that entailed me getting a blanket, not wearing a prison uniform, and fighting the British regime from inside a prison cell in H-Block, like many others, hundreds of others. My name is John Connolly. I am 55 years old. I am a native of West Belfast. I've lived in Dundalk now for the last 29 years. I was born in a place called Beachmount, just off the Falls Road in West Belfast. I was about 14, I joined the Fianna. Like most young people, the Fianna being a backup and a support network to the IRA and a stepping stone into the IRA. I joined the IRA just before I was 16. I remember getting sworn in because we all had to tell lies what age we were. You weren't allowed in the IRA till you were 18 and all this out carry on, And we all said we were 18, But I suppose while we were 16, and you can see it throughout the world, particularly in Palestine and places like that, young people do grow up very quickly. I was arrested in the Beachmount area, not far from my own house, sitting watching television. I was arrested one evening, taken to the cop shop, and they ended up in sentence. I refused to criminalise myself, the struggle of which I had been involved in, or previous campaigns that other people had been involved in. I refused to do that, so that entailed me getting a blanket, not wearing a prison uniform, and fighting the British regime from inside a prison cell in H-Block, like many others, hundreds of others. Well, I eventually got released in October 1981, just as the hunger strikes had ended. And that was me being, I suppose, from our people's point of view, a news value item. Get the story out there, let people know what's going on, because there was a lot of censorship around the whole situation by the great and the good in this country and other countries, and part of the weapon of struggle is to get your story out there, challenge people's thinking, and hopefully they'll do something about it. So I ended up going around Europe on speaking tours, which were very, very well received by people in France, people in Germany, and I thought it was excellent, to get that story out. I got married in March of 1984 to a good sound woman called Andrea Leonard / Connolly from West Belfast, and I had met Andrea, and she was involved in struggle as well, and a good sound woman. And I got married on the 16th of March 1984. I had to leave the wedding table because I got a wee note that the place was surrounded. When I arrived in Dundalk, it was a mixture of everything, I suppose looking back on it, probably when I crossed the border, it was like a bag of coal lifted off my back. You were able to relax and you were able to be comfortable, and you weren't always watching, and you didn't have to have so many things in place for your own safety. And I was lucky enough, a lot of people had come before me and they had established a fairly decent enough network of support. Not as great as the one today, but they were the pioneers. They were breaking new ground. They had it hard, because in many cases, I suppose, there was a lot of people who opposed our position, who opposed us, who were anti-Republican, who were anti-Northerner, didn't and could see this is going to be dangerous down the road if these people get a foothold. And I could see, looking back on it, that was probably their thinking. They had that vision. Don't let these people settle in Dundalk. Give them a bit of stick, push them on if you can, and that's what they try to do in many cases for most people when they arrive down here. For me, when I arrived down, I was arrested and told by the branch I wasn't welcome in Dundalk, wasn't questioned about anything, and all this seriousness about bombings in London was never mentioned or anything at all. They just told me that I wasn't welcome and I should go home. So I suppose that a lot of northern people made their own ground and look round and always try to improve their own ground. In most cases, that's what they've done, and that went from better housing to their entitlements and to making wherever they lived a better place for themselves and for others, and also being, revolutionary Republicans, always looking for the opportunity to try and tell people the story, to try and get people to do a wee bit more than what they were doing, and to try and get them to come over to our side. That was always probably your aim, intentionally or unintentionally. I have many good friends who don't vote for Sinn Féin, they might vote for Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, but I would hopefully say that I have their respect, and they respect my position as supporting Sinn Féin as being an Irish Republican, and they support whatever good work I will do in my community and in the town of Dundalk, like most of our northern people. You know, that a lot of them have done excellent work in the town, and it is that bit of building between ourselves and people who are indigenous to the town, because they were listening to a lot of waffle, a lot of lies, a lot of mistruth from their government, from their church. I think our people have always been very good at pushing things in the community in which they live for the better. And take where I live in Mahevna, they've been at the forefront of establishing a good, sound credit union, along with people who come from Dundalk. But the boxing club's another example of good pushing from people from the north, along with people who live in the town, and getting an excellent club going. The community centre, everything that I see around where I live has a good input. The creches, the community centre, all the stuff that's good for people. You know, we have an input in it. We're involved in it along with others, and in some cases we have led that struggle for change within the area in which we live. You know, we know how important change is. We know the benefits it has to the community when they have facilities within their community, and I suppose we're always pushing and shoving for that. I'm living in Dundalk now 29 years, and I suppose there's pluses and minuses. I can say I have two homes. I certainly have a home in Dundalk, and I certainly have a home in West Belfast. I would support Louth in the football, and I suppose the big challenge people tell me is that's okay till there's a final in Croke Park, but I don't see Antrim or Louth getting to a final in Croke Park, so I can be okay supporting Louth and Antrim because they very rarely meet anyway. Both teams is not too hot. On reflection too, as I got older, I missed out on an awful lot of stuff in my own home. Everything that is normal is abnormal, and the more I get into storytelling, the more I get into people that I talk to, the abnormality of growing up and living in the times that I lived in West Belfast, and coming down here and having to settle forcibly because I didn't want to come in the first place, you know, does have an effect on me at different times. Sometimes I'd be very sad about the fact that I couldn't go to my father's funeral, and sometimes I'd be glad that I couldn't go to my father's funeral, because for me in many ways I escaped all the grief and all the emotions of my mother and my brothers and my sisters, and I was left, you know, out of it. And you know, I don't think it was as painful as what they went through. And I suppose relationships between my brothers and sisters and my mother were always up and down. I'm out of the house since 1974. I was on the run from late 74, you know, and I suppose in many cases everything revolved around me. As my sisters would say jokingly and affectionately, our John, here's our John, you know, get the steak out. But you know, my family were good, and my own family now today are good. Andrew's sound as a pound. My daughter Fanula and my son Tomas, I think, are very understanding of my position and their mother's position, and certainly, you know, they would be thinking along the lines I would hope they'd think along, you know, about equality and about fairness and about justice and about change. And in 2013 and today now, Dundalk's a far different place even when I arrived like 29 years ago. Very, very multicultural now. A lot of people from Nigeria, Latvia, Poland and everything else. And I can see a lot of similarities in the discrimination that they face, the language that is used against them. You know, people would have no problem saying nigger or black bastard the same way they would say northern bastard to me at different times. You know, I have many good friends who are Nigerian, and many good friends from different countries, from Albania, from Russia. You know, and I can understand and empathise with their situation, because as somebody who came here from the north, which is only up the road, but in many times, in many cases, it felt like I was coming from Russia or Albania or Nigeria.